Stephen Timms.
Madam Deputy Speaker, we're having a very interesting debate. I do particularly want to congratulate my honourable friend, the member for Chesterfield, on the front bench for the case that he set out at the start of the debate, rightly highlighting the fact that every couple of years the government says it's going to solve the problems of the skills problem by putting employers at the centre, and it never works. So they come back and do the same thing again a couple of years later, and he's absolutely right as well to highlight the failure of the apprenticeship levy policy about which the government was warned. But I raised to move new clause 13, which is on the order paper in my name. 9 years ago, the government pledged alternative student finance. That pledge has still not been delivered, barring large numbers of Muslims from higher education. The problem became a serious one in 2012 when tuition fees were drastically raised and student loans became essential for pretty much everybody. For some British Muslims, having to take an interest-bearing student loan simply meant they could not go to university at all. Riba, interest, is prohibited in Islam as it was in Christianity until the Middle Ages. Some Muslim young people defer university until they've saved to pay the fees outright. Some, with a very heavy heart, take out a loan and feel bad about it ever after. Others don't attend at all. This is the reality facing young British Muslims today. The organisation Muslim Census published last October the findings of a survey on the scale of the problem. They concluded that 4,000 Muslim students every year opt out of university altogether because alternative student finance isn't available. 6,000 a year choose to self-fund, severely limiting their choice of course and their student experience. And they found that 4 in 5 Muslim students who do take loans felt conflicted as a result, sometimes with mental health consequences requiring clinical intervention. It is in nobody's interests to fail such a large group of bright young people who we need to contribute their full potential in the years ahead. As Prime Minister, David Cameron promised to change this. At the World Islamic Economic Forum in London in 2013, he said, and I quote, "Never again should a Muslim in Britain feel unable to go to university because they cannot get a student loan, simply because of their religion." The promise he made was very clear. 9 years later, there is still not even a timetable for keeping it. Yep. It looks to young Muslims as if ministers simply cannot be bothered. A year after David Cameron's speech, a government consultation attracted 20,000 responses, which was a record at the time, on a proposed takaful system in which students pay into the system to guarantee each other against loans. This cooperative structure, generally recognised as shariah-compliant, repayments, debt levels, cost to the government would be the same as for conventional student loans. But progress since then, over 8 years, has been glacial. In November 2015, a Green Paper said, quote, "We are looking to develop the takaful product more fully." A White Paper the following year said there was, quote, "a real need to support students who felt unable to use interest-bearing loans," and that, quote, "we will introduce an alternative student finance product for the first time which will avoid the payment of interest." That was 7 years ago. Yep. In 2017, campaigners hoped the new Higher Education and Research Act would enable a takaful loan model. Then ministers said the May 2019 Auger review would cover it. It didn't, but ministers ever since have used the forthcoming response to that report as a justification for still not doing anything. The response to the Auger review was supposed to be published at the time of the spending review. 6 months later, still no word. British Muslims make up nearly 5% of the UK population and almost 10% of students. In the borough I represent, Muslims are about a third of our population. It is extremely hurtful that the government simply can't be bothered to keep the promise it made 9 years ago to so many people. Thousands of young Muslims miss out on university. Others struggle over the conflict between what they believe and their hopes for higher education. Our system should not be doing this to people, as the government recognised 9 years ago. New clause 13 requires the Secretary of State at last to make the long-awaited regulations. I do hope the House and the Minister will support it. Yeah.